David Malachar here with the Liberty Chronicle Independent. Today I have with me Jessie Gamble, who majored in political science here at the University of Washington. And today we're going to be discussing a little bit about the history, what brought her into UW, her experiences at UW, a lot of the crazy fiascos that we've seen in the 2016 election, and whatever else she would like to get out there and off of her chest. Jessie, thank you so much for taking the time to be able to spend with us. So, first question. When you first got here, what was the environment like, and how does it contrast to what it's like right now?
Oh gosh, I mean, in general it's very busy because when I first got here there was a whole bunch of new people kind of trying to understand the lay of the land and figure it out, and I would say pretty tame. I mean, I got here in fall of 2013, right after I graduated high school, and came in here, and yeah, it was, I mean, to a degree it was a little bit busier for me based on where I'm from, just a lot to get used to. Obviously the circumference, the size of the college is much bigger than even my hometown, so trying to figure my way around, understanding where every building is, understanding if I'm dropped off at a certain point, can I find my way to my next class, all that kind of stuff is what I had to deal with, and now I understand the campus pretty well, and so I mean that's a big thing. But yeah, I mean, it was just culture on the campus. Obviously it was very left-leaning, and I didn't understand how left-leaning it was because I had only been exposed, honestly, to maybe, comparatively to the University of Washington, moderately liberal ideas, and learning about just different types of how deep identity politics can go was a big thing, and that was something I was still getting used to. It seemed like, and it still does, seems like everyone wants to try to recreate themselves at college, and they are taking it to new extremes, and who knows if these recreations are going to last or if it's just something they're experimenting with. Yeah, I guess I can't really comment on that. I don't know too much. I don't really care too much to follow everyone else's life. So, but yeah, it just seems like everyone's in a new environment. They're trying to recreate themselves, and you had to respect them or else.
And you had enrolled in what year?
2013.
2013. So from 2013 to 2016, would you say that like the aggression in the air or the atmosphere definitely had increased towards those who have conservative or libertarian or right ideologies?
Oh, definitely. I want to say around probably about the time a lot of students during the presidential election understood that Bernie did not have a chance. They were very disenfranchised with Hillary, and that I recall the Republican Party actually decided on Trump well before the Democrats had even officially, been able to nominate Hillary or to narrow it down to Hillary. Bernie was still hanging on by a thread. And that's kind of when people started getting hostile, is they kind of realized that was the other option. They didn't get their way with Bernie, so it was going to be Hillary, and they didn't like the Republican option, so it was just, a prime spot for a tantrum to happen.
Yes. Well, with the way that they had reacted, like we saw obviously they had tried to do a smear campaign on you, and they were trying to defame your image, and I'm glad that those things have calmed down because that was absolutely ridiculous, the claims that they were making. Yeah. What was that like during that time? Like what was it like seeing your face everywhere with like these derogatory, incorrect terms, and it's like, what the heck?
I guess when I first got it, because the poster got emailed to me anonymously, when I first saw that, obviously I was surprised it happened, but to a degree I was like, I've been waiting for something like this. They're going to figure out who's running the Milo event, who's putting it on at the college, who's daring to do this at all, and they're going to want a witch hunt. And so I kind of knew it was coming, and so when it was out in the air, I guess my first thought was, okay, now I see what I'm dealing with. Obviously, it wasn't really true. It didn't, to be quite honest, it didn't affect me. I did get a few calls because the poster had my dad's number, my personal number. I got a few calls, a few creepy voicemails. I got a lot of Facebook messages, a few like death threats, rape threats, and while I'm like, all of this, I guess when I was working on the project at the time, I didn't think about it because really up until the day of Milo, actually after the event, it was finally done being planned. It was finally, it was over. So the whole time I didn't worry about the messages I was getting. I didn't worry about the poster. I had a project in front of me, and I was working on it vigorously to get it done and to make sure that it was executed. And really, I guess I want to say about the week or so after Milo and after everything settled down, and I no longer had a project that consumed me, 24/7 that I was always thinking about and making sure it went on, as great as it could. Then it kind of all started hitting me, and I realized, people wanted to end my life because I invited a speaker to campus. People wanted to sexually assault me because I wanted to invite a speaker to campus, and it was just the reality of it kind of set in. I kind of became a little bit more paranoid. I didn't attend classes for a week or so. I would just wake up in the morning. I didn't want to go. I had told the university and the Student Conduct Code Commission office who had made the poster. My friend had kind of helped me thoroughly prove it. He went in, was interviewed, and they didn't do anything about it, so I figured the school doesn't care. My classes, the kids in my classes knew about it. I was in one particular lecture hall where there's 250 people, and I could so much as reach back and stretch, and I would have 5 people glaring at me at all times. And so I would wake up in the morning, and I didn't want to go. And then the next day I realized, I don't need to go. And then a week or so after, not going to class or being sick, I kind of decided that I need to stop. I ended up seeing kind of a therapist about it because I was a little bit paranoid that something was going to happen to me on campus, and I didn't want to involve the campus police. Even though they asked to kind of assist me everywhere, I just felt like everyone would definitely know who I was if I had the police. So it was kind of a catch-22 situation. Sure, I'd feel safe, but then again, I'd rise even more to a certain type of prominence. So kind of saw a therapist, took it class by class, day by day, month by month. All of a sudden I graduated, and because that was actually my last quarter, I was graduating a month and a half after Milo, which kind of made everything a little bit more tolerable, knowing I didn't have to actually go 4 or 5 months. It was just a month and a half.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how that went. And I guess I don't want to tell a lot of people about that part. It's kind of embarrassing, but I mean, the more I think about it, it was a perfectly rational response. I just kind of started getting paranoid. I was afraid that they didn't get their way on the 20th because Milo still happened, and they were still looking for me to blame. They were, and I no longer had a project to occupy my time, so I kind of got a little bit paranoid. And it wasn't that I didn't like mind being hated. Like, kind of being an outlaw was kind of fun, but worrying about the one person that was going to take things too far, because I mean, obviously someone already did go too far, right? They made a poster about me because I wanted to host an event. I was just worried about what the next step was going to be, or if someone was watching me, or all that kind of stuff.
Advocating violence, rape, and all these other, just the doxing, just the absolute insanity. Like, there's no excuse for that, especially when all you were doing was organizing to have a speaker come to your campus to talk. And I was there. I was there and documented the fabulous faggot tour Milo event here at UW and in Washington. And it was just absolute chaos that day, that we had to be escorted out the back way and through the underground.
Yeah, we had to take off any type of merchandise. Any of the bracelets had to come off. My friends that wore Trump shirts had to go in the bathroom, flip them inside out, and be able to kind of walk back to their cars. No indication that they'd actually attended our event, because it was deemed far too hostile for them to, have even been associated with. It's simply attending an event.
Yes. I mean, I had my press credentials, and I was, dressed appropriately, and I received much backlash myself, so I can only imagine what these guys had went through, and the amount of just absolute horror of not knowing if someone's going to be attacking you for just having the ability to have a different opinion. And it's not that you had a violent message or just anything like of that nature. Things have just gone so crazy that it's like, where do we go from here? And the same tactics that were used during the campaign season and after the campaign season are still here. And we even have noticed that the power of the protest has lost its luster, it's lost its meaning. When Martin Luther King marched, they marched for a purpose. When we had the women's marches for the right to vote and all the measures during the first wave of feminism, they had a purpose. But now we're seeing so many different protests and marches where people are just doing it for the sake of it and not for an actual cause.
And not only that, but you kind of look at all those different groups, and there's so much infighting. Like the Women's Day march the day after inauguration, it was white women to the back, and there was so much infighting with every single group that it was just like even though that it was like a big protest, a big counter-protest to Trump, it was kind of nice to see that they were not on the same page. They were still eating their own, they're still attacking their own, and I mean, it's incredibly frustrating to be on the left. I know many people that are are leaving the Democratic Party because of that. It's progressing at a rate where there is no end destination. There is no sense of where they're going or where they're progressing to, so they just kind of left. And if you couldn't keep up with how far or how fast they were progressing, you really knew the new enemy. So I have a lot of friends that now have left the Democratic Party because they don't feel like it's them anymore. And a lot of people that are trying to domineer the party because they think it's progress, but they don't have an end goal.
Right. Do you think that the atmosphere now, like here we are in April of 2017, do you think that it's going to continue to spiral downward, or do you think that they're going to take a step back and say, maybe we shouldn't have reacted the way we did?
Oh gosh, I mean, it's definitely not, I mean, May Day, Seattle 2017, it's definitely gonna be one for the books. So I would say that might be the beginning of the end of the protests, because after May Day and after you kind of go through and destroy your city, I mean, what else is left? You didn't send a message, no one cares, you're just destroying where you live to destroy where you live, to complain about people that voted elsewhere. So, and you wouldn't dare protest elsewhere where people voted, for Trump, because you would not be allowed to do the kind of stuff that you do. You won't be allowed to go and destroy their types of cities without honest repercussions. So, honestly, I know people like to organize, they like to protest, and they think the same 100 people showing up to every single event is a good sign, but it's just, the message gets worn out. I mean, honestly, about 2 Fridays ago, there was a protest here, just for the sake of having a protest. They're still complaining about Milo, and my name was brought up even though at that time I had graduated. Like, I was gone, I was off campus. And I was thinking about coming up that day to hang out with friends, and I figured, if there's 250 people storming around still screaming my name, I'll just stay back.
Yeah.
So, and the situations on campus, it's not like it's peaceful students doing anything. It's the Antifa that comes and takes over, and because it's a public space, they want to make it their own, and they want to make it their own battleground, and act like they're a part of everything here, when really they just strip kind of the students' activities away. They strip the ability for students to protest or to have meaningful conversations. They just come in and wreak havoc and leave, and it only just intensifies division. And maybe that's what they want. It's probably exactly what they want, but I don't know. It's a frustrating position to be in, because we're also a public campus. You can come in here and you can have whatever message you want. You can be able to say it, because we're one of those rare positions, rare places where you're able to do that. But at what point does a bunch of people in masks come in, scream, yell, and destroy stuff and leave? At what point do you finally say enough's enough?
Agreed. And the fact that they have to use violence to get across their narrative versus debate, logic, and words shows that their ideology has extreme flaws, and they really should take a step back and look at what they're doing. I mean, we saw recently, to reference Berkeley, they just had a huge standoff between Antifa and Trump supporters, or just right-leaning individuals. Even centralists were in that mix, in that battle, where we saw rocks thrown, pepper spray. I mean, we saw the same thing happen up here as well. I mean, it's a war zone on campuses across the country. What advice can you give those students who may be like libertarian, conservative, independent, central-leaning, the ones that are coming in for 2017, these guys that will be having to deal with this? What is your advice for them coming this fall?
It is incredibly intimidating to know that you're public enemy number one, and if you were to speak out, but I would encourage people to speak out anyways, because what I learned, at least especially through the Milo stuff, no matter how bad it got, there was someone in my class waiting for someone else to speak up. They're on, maybe it's on the tip of their tongue, they're on the edge of their seat. They want to speak up in class, but they know that even if they didn't vote for Trump, or they don't have the ideals for Trump, or maybe they're libertarian, but they'll be perceived as right-leaning and they'll be dismissed. They don't want to speak up at all, because they're going to be dismissed, they're going to be ostracized, but there's kind of that power in numbers. If one person does it, then they'll kind of gain that confidence. And for me speaking up in my classes, I had people message me on Facebook or email me through the student directory and say, because of what you did, I'm a senior, this is my last year here, I've never actually spoken up in class on my political opinions. I'll just speak up and talk about the readings, but come Monday, I'll do it. I'll start speaking up, I'll start, engaging in discussion. And the people have been afraid for so long to do that, and discourse has suffered. People are so afraid, and professors are wondering what's wrong. all the while they're kind of bashing and hating conservatives, and then say, okay, who wants to speak up if you're a conservative? Well, of course you don't, because you're worried if you're going to get marked down, or you're worried if the whole class is going to hate you. And most likely they will, and I've seen that. And what I found the most success in, especially as a political science major, after you're done with all the intro stuff, after you're in the major, you get to do the seminars where it's maybe 10 or 15 sitting around the table. And it was easier for me to say, I'm a Republican. I voted for Trump because I believe that we need to have a grassroots movement in the political party to have a shakedown. I believe that's important. I think that, even though it's not similar ideologically, Trump is kind of taking that baton from Ron Paul and doing a true shakeup of the Republican Party and shaking down the establishment. That's why I voted for him. And in the groups that I had, maybe 10 to 15 kids or students in the class, it was a good insight. And every time we'd have a reading or anytime we discussed conservatism, they looked to me and they were respectful about it. When I spoke up in a classroom of about 100, 200 people, yeah, it was easier to be hated, but still, I had a few people that said, I'm going to speak up now too. Or I had a few people that were moderates that said, I really appreciated that, because the liberal culture is becoming stifling. And they needed kind of that refresher, that might be even on the political fence. So it's very scary. I would definitely advise you to find a college Republican chapter. With that kind of helped me gain a lot of my courage, helped some of my friends gain a lot of their courage. If you have like-minded friends and you have at least kind of, I don't even know if you want to call it like a support group, if you got that kind of atmosphere, once a week you can go to and vent your frustrations, you feel much more accepted. And so I would advise to find something like that, like a college Republican chapter, a YAL chapter, a YAF chapter, whatever it is you have, and speak up in class where you can contribute meaningful contributions. What I've learned, at least with the political science department, even if professors will talk down about Trump or talk down about Republicans or libertarianism, they still want you to talk up. They still want you to speak up. It seems counterintuitive, but you do provide a necessary discussion. You do provide a necessary opinion that's missing in college courses. And it's of course important to listen, even though some ideas may seem ridiculous, but it'll help you better your argument, it'll help you better your stance, and it'll help you thoroughly refute or challenge what you do believe, so you can come away, believing in something a little bit more, a little stronger, or being more sure of what you believe. And that's definitely been my experience at the UW.
So now that you're graduated,
yes.
What happens now?
Oh gosh.
Where do we go?
Well, right now, I've actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to speak on it so much, but I've been hired as a campaign manager in a local race back where I live, and I'm excited about that.
Excellent.
I love where I live, I love where I come from, and they deserve adequate representation. We've got a special election this year, and so I'm happy to work for someone who I think could provide the people I love with adequate representation in Olympia. So that's my project that I'm working on immediately, and I'm really excited about it. And of course, I get to take everything I've learned, I get to take everything I've been working on and be able to turn it and give it back to my community. So young, I'm so happy to do that. So that's my next project.
That is excellent. That's good to hear. And Jessie has definitely had quite a journey here at UW, and for the incoming people that will have to deal with the mess that is currently in this climate and atmosphere, I hope that these words that she was able to provide can give you some encouragement. It's always good to have a support system, as she was saying, so that way you're not alone, you're not isolated, and it's just overall a better, safer atmosphere for everyone. And don't be afraid to speak your mind, because obviously people like Jessie are pioneers out here at UW. She will be remembered for quite some time in the future. And who knows, maybe we can even get Milo to come back to Washington for another visit.
Gosh, yeah, definitely. All right. Any other questions? Or?
No, I think that we've covered everything. So thank you so much, Jessie, for
Yeah.
spending time with us. This is David Malakar with the Liberty Chronicle Independent signing out.